Hey there, curious minds. Tonight, we're diving deep into something you won't find in most school books. Unless your school's mascot is a parrot with commitment issues and your curriculum smells faintly of rum and tropical rain. Picture this. The year is somewhere around the early 1700s. The air smells like brine and old gunpowder, and the beaches of Madagascar stretch endlessly in all directions like sun-baked parchment. A few creaky ships, barely afloat, drift toward shore, not because of storms, not because of battle wounds, but because their captains just decided they were done with Europe navies and getting bossed around. They weren't shipwrecked in the usual sense. They chose to strand themselves on the edge of the world. They came for gold, yes, but mostly they came for something stranger. Freedom. Not the kind you chant in speeches, but the kind you feel in your bones when no one's telling you what to do, and hammocks swing instead of chains clinking. Of course, that kind of freedom is messy, loud, and let's be honest, deeply unprofitable. And you probably won't survive this. Just putting that out there now. Between the mosquitoes, the malaria, the jealous chiefs, and the pirates who still occasionally forget that stabbing people isn't part of democracy, you're in for a very wild ride. Quick favor. Before you dive into full-on relaxation mode, consider liking and subscribing. It helps more than you know, and I genuinely appreciate it if you do. If not, no worries, I'm just glad you're here. Drop a comment with where you're listening from and your local time. I love seeing our sleepy little global crew. Wherever you are, I'm glad you're here. Let's take a moment to leave the noise of the day behind. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your feet hit the beach with a wet slap, each step sinking slightly into the caramel-colored sand as gulls circle overhead, squawking like they have gossip to share. The wreck behind you, a squat, rot-bellied sloop, groans in the rising heat, its hull cracked like a dry coconut. The men around you, sunburnt and barefoot, don't seem terribly concerned. One has already rigged a hammock between two palms. Another is trying to spear a crab with a fork, muttering curses that would embarrass a tavern wall. A third is carefully removing his boots, placing them in the surf with an almost ceremonial grace, as if he never intends to wear shoes again. This is not a retreat. It's a declaration. You're not alone in thinking this all feels strange. Pirates aren't supposed to retire like this, are they? They're supposed to go down in a blaze of cannon fire or disappear with chests of cursed gold, not set up tropical book clubs and figure out shared property laws. But Madagascar, especially its northeast coast near Isle Sainte-Marie, has been catching drifters and dreamers for decades by now. The French tried to claim it. The Portuguese tried to Christianize it, and Arab traders were smart enough to just keep selling things and avoid stepping on local spirits' toes. But for pirates, the island was something else entirely. A blank page with palm trees. You hear someone laughing, really laughing, as he drops a bundle of gold coins into the sand like it's gravel. No more counting, he says. We spend it or we bury it, but we don't live by it. Someone else adds, "We don't need kings here, not even pirate ones." And that's when it starts to click. These men didn't just flee Europe's gallows, they're trying to uninvent Europe. They want to live in a place where hammocks hang easier than laws and decisions are made with all hands and a little rum. Of course, history isn't always kind to dreamers. Historians still argue whether these pirates truly meant to form a republic, or if they were just tired, broke, and drunk enough to pretend democracy sounded fun for a while. Some say the name Libertalia came later, a fantasy layered on top of old journals and salt-ruined memories. Others swear it existed, a kind of floating Atlantis for anarchists, stitched together with equal parts idealism and poor impulse control. But right now, under this sun, you don't have time for future arguments. You've got hammocks to build. The trees here are thick, banyan and palm tangled together like old ropes. Someone hands you a machete. Someone else hands you a drink in a hollowed-out coconut. Welcome to the Republic of Pirates, friend. Population, wildly fluctuating. The first few weeks are surprisingly industrious. You help build shacks from driftwood, repair fishing nets, and try not to laugh as 3 former gunners argue over how many crabs count as a civilized dinner. There's no true leader here yet, but a pattern starts to emerge. Some people are better at fishing, others better at fixing, and a few are excellent at yelling loudly enough to pass for authority. Decisions are made in open councils, with everyone lounging in hammocks and pretending they don't mind the ants. It's all very casual until someone steals a pouch of emeralds. Then things get serious. A trial is called. The defendant, still wearing a ridiculous feathered hat, claims he was just holding them for safekeeping. Witnesses bicker, jokes fly, but eventually someone reads from a tattered parchment. Theft among comrades shall not be tolerated. The hat wearer gets voted off the island, survivor style, and is sent inland with 2 coconuts and a very sarcastic map. Justice, pirate style. You're surprised by how organized the chaos feels. There are basic rules, mostly about not stealing, not killing each other without cause, and sharing food and treasure in fair portions. Some of these were borrowed from existing pirate codes at sea. The Articles of Agreement, for instance, which many captains made their crews sign before voyages. Here on land, those same rules evolve into something bigger, something stranger. A legal system with hammocks. Who would have guessed? At night, the beach glows with firelight. You lie back in your own gently swaying hammock, the stars above so bright they seem almost fake. Frogs chirp in the undergrowth. A distant drumbeat echoes from the Malagasy village inland, where real politics, gods, and family lineages stretch back centuries before your wild-eyed comrades washed ashore. You wonder how long you can balance between these 2 worlds, or if you're already sinking into one. Someone nearby whispers, "We're free here. We can be anything." Another mutters, "Until someone wants to be king." The waves hush it all, folding the voices into a sleepy rhythm. Tomorrow, you'll help dig a communal latrine and maybe debate the ethics of treasure redistribution. Tonight, though, you just float. You wake to the sound of laughter, sharp, cackling, like a tavern joke that refuses to die, and the earthy thunk of coconuts being hurled into a barrel for no discernible reason. The sun filters down through palm fronds like warm syrup, and your skin is already too sunburnt to bother with complaints. This is your new world now, and it smells like roasted fish, fermented fruit, and ambition. Soggy, half-formed ambition, but ambition all the same. The men here aren't your average band of rum-soaked scoundrels anymore, though you still wouldn't trust most of them with your last biscuit. These are mutineers, deserters, and accidental philosophers. What began as survival has turned into something curiously organized. Pirate crews, those once chaotic floating democracies, have started translating their shipboard codes into island law, and you're part of that experiment. Every argument around the fire becomes a policy debate. Every brawl is a test case for justice. One of the older pirates, he's missing most of his fingers but compensates with opinions, lectures anyone who will listen. We ran from the king's taxes, from priests with too many rings and too little mercy. So now we don't need kings. We vote, we shout, and we share the spoils fair. His hammock sags dramatically as he rolls over to swat a mosquito. It's not exactly the Enlightenment, but it's close, in a sweaty, shirtless kind of way. Historians still argue whether this place ever had a name. Some call it Libertalia, based on accounts like those of Captain Charles Johnson, the may-be-real, may-be-invented chronicler who might have been Daniel Defoe in disguise. Was Libertalia an actual republic founded by Captain Mission, and a ragtag assembly of ex-slave, mutineers, and escaped debtors? Or was it a dreamy pirate bedtime story made up to scare colonial governors and make old sailors misty-eyed with regret? The truth, like most things here, is slippery. What is real are the rules taking shape. You and the others draft articles of behavior, arguments hashed out in the shade, while roasting plantains and arguing over whether communal hammocks are a utopia or a logistical nightmare. There's a clause against cheating comrades, another for electing leaders by vote and removing them just as quickly, one about dividing loot evenly, though everyone quickly learns that evenly often depends on how loudly you shout or how good your story is. It's not perfect, but it's not tyranny either. The weirdest part is how sober it feels. Not literally sober, there's still enough palm wine to pickle an ox, but emotionally sober, like everyone knows they're building something fragile and strange. Some of these men grew up under lords who treated them like livestock. Others spent years in the bellies of warships where discipline came in the form of lashes. Here, you settled disputes with palm leaf ballots and passive-aggressive sea shanties. One guy even suggests a motto: "For all and none shall rule." It gets scribbled onto driftwood and stuck in the sand like a flag. Of course, utopia attracts attention. Malagasy chiefs from inland villages begin to send scouts to see what you're up to. You meet them cautiously, with gifts and exaggerated smiles. They're amused more than threatened, at least for now. These local kingdoms have their own complex hierarchies, lineages, and trading traditions. Some chiefs see opportunity in the pirates' desperation. Others are more wary. One warns you through a translator that no foreigner stays long without paying some kind of price. Still, tentative friendships form. Trinkets are exchanged. A pirate with a glass eye wins over an elder's trust by showing how it pops out and scares chickens. An alliance is born over shared laughter and roasted goat. It's not long before people begin arriving from all over. Escaped slaves from French plantations in nearby islands, sailors who jumped ship in Mozambique, stragglers from failed revolutions or ruined expeditions. They come for rumors of freedom, of hammocks in the trees and treasure buried just beneath the roots. Not all of them stay, but those who do add to the chaos and to the dream. One night, the council meets under lantern light strung between mangroves. You're sprawled on the sand, scribbling in charcoal onto palm fronds while someone tries to define what freedom actually means when your neighbor won't stop borrowing your knife without asking. The conversation drifts to big things: justice, property, belonging. You realize something strange. These pirates, many of them illiterate, are debating philosophy. Badly, sure, but passionately. A younger crewman pipes up. Back home, I couldn't even speak without permission. Here I get a say, even if no one listens. Everyone chuckles, but it sticks with you. Maybe this is why they call it a republic, even if it has no proper flag, no national anthem, and absolutely no plumbing. The line between pirate and citizen keeps blurring. A code is enforced where captains rotate, power isn't permanent, and even the most grizzled among you takes a turn washing pots. It's messy, it's flawed, but it works for now. Your community stretches along the bay, a jumble of huts, hammocks, and hope. When outsiders arrive, they're welcomed if they agree to the rules. If not, they are given a canoe and a gentle shove toward elsewhere. But not everyone wants a republic. Some miss the old ways: plunder, hierarchy, sharp commands. A splinter group starts to form, led by a man known only as Red Isaac. He claims pirates should lead like kings, that discipline brings strength. He carries a sword he never uses but sharpens obsessively. One night, someone torches a voting tent. No one is hurt, but the message is clear. Utopia has enemies, even here. You hold another council the next day. The vote is unanimous. Red Isaac is exiled, but he vows to return with real order. You double the watch at night, start training younger members to handle spears as well as fishing hooks. Still, you refuse to appoint a permanent leader. That would be admitting fear. And this place was built on the opposite of fear. It was built on a kind of glorious, sunburnt defiance. Meanwhile, trade with inland villages deepens. You swap tools and cloth for cattle and rice. Some Malagasy families even join your settlement, intrigued by your strange customs and endless supply of bizarre sea stories. Children from both communities splash in the shallows together. A boy teaches you how to fish with a woven net. You teach him how to swear in 3 languages and juggle cannonballs. A strange peace settles in your bones. It's the kind of peace that comes not from safety, but from choosing your danger and living honestly with it. You helped build this place from broken ships and half-formed dreams. Whether it lasts or burns, whether it becomes legend or just another footnote in history, doesn't matter, not tonight. You sit by the fire, legs stretched out, fingers sticky with fruit juice, and stare at the stars you'll never name. Someone strums a makeshift lute. Someone else sings a tune you almost remember from before all this. It ends with a whispered chorus. No kings, no masters, just tides and time. You find yourself sitting cross-legged in a woven hammock that creaks with every breath of wind, trying very hard not to spill your cup of coconut wine as a Malagasy elder stares at you like you're some kind of talking fish. His name is Andriamahezo, which means king of wood, and he looks about as amused with you as a crocodile does with a soggy parrot. Around you, the trees rustle gently, and someone's chicken is getting entirely too close to your boots. This is diplomacy, pirate style. No powdered wigs, no gilded thrones, just awkward silences broken by the occasional burp and the smell of boiled cassava hanging in the air. You're here because the pirate republic can't survive on hammocks and handshakes alone. You need trade, allies, maybe even a few people who don't think you're a total lunatic for trying to run a democracy with former buccaneers and runaway sailors. The Malagasy communities inland have goods you want: rice, cattle, iron tools, knowledge of the land. And you have what they find curious if not useful: muskets, knives, and whatever the weird thing is that keeps leaking in your barrel labeled medical supplies. They're not impressed by your swagger, but your glass beads and wool coats do raise eyebrows. Some of the chiefs, like Andriamahezo, are cautious but curious. Others, like a wiry woman called Vola, whose name means silver and whose side-eye could peel bark, treat you like a sentient coconut until proven otherwise. Still, negotiations begin. You trade flintlocks for cattle, mirrors for millet, and once, no one will ever explain why, a dented brass compass for a live lemur in a little hat. It rides on your shoulder for weeks, screaming at sunrise and stealing dried fish. You name it Parliament. Everyone hates it except you. Historians still argue whether these pirate-chief interactions were genuine partnerships or temporary alignments born of mutual inconvenience. Some accounts suggest deep friendships grew, intermarriage, shared rituals, feasting for days, while others describe cautious transactions where both sides fully expected betrayal and brought backups. Probably it was both. You've seen Malagasy warriors dance with machetes under moonlight one day and negotiate the price of goat cheese the next. Flexibility, after all, is survival. You learn quickly that diplomacy here isn't about flowery speeches. It's about watching who eats first, who speaks last, and who brings the best fermented yams to the meeting. The hammock becomes your unofficial office, swaying with each negotiation. Pirates slump beside you, sweating through stolen French coats, while Malagasy chiefs inspect you like odd birds washed up on their shores. Sometimes you bring gifts. Sometimes they bring warnings. Occasionally, someone shows up with a spear and a bone to pick about that time your crew accidentally borrowed a sacred drum. You return it, along with enough tobacco to smooth things over. Barely. One afternoon, you're invited to a wedding between a Malagasy trader's daughter and a pirate named Ephraim, who once tried to rob a Portuguese galleon with a slingshot and some bold language. The ceremony is long, beautiful, and filled with symbolism you don't quite grasp, but you understand the intent. Families are binding together, cultures mingling not just through trade, but through blood and story. That night, someone sings an old Malagasy lullaby while your crew attempts to harmonize with a sea shanty about pickled herring. It's deeply moving and objectively terrible. These cultural exchanges grow. You learn which plants soothe fever and which ones make your toes go numb. You try wearing traditional lamba cloth and promptly trip over yourself. A Malagasy elder teaches you how to read the wind by watching the birds. In return, you show her how to reload a musket while chewing sugar cane. She nods solemnly and says, "Not as useful but noisy." You both laugh. Still, tensions simmer like stew left on too long. Not everyone on either side trusts this strange alliance. Some Malagasy see the pirates as invaders with bad hygiene and worse table manners. Some pirates grumble that their grand plans of liberty shouldn't have to include learning 5 new words for rice. Fights break out. Apologies are mumbled. Hammocks are slashed in the night and then repaired sheepishly the next morning. It's a fragile balance, this diplomacy, and it takes more work than raiding ever did. The real test comes when a Malagasy warband from the north attacks one of the joint settlements. Fires tear through huts built with shared hands, and smoke carries questions no one wants to ask aloud. Was it retaliation? A warning? Or just old feuds that had nothing to do with you? You help rebuild. You defend the borders. And when the next delegation comes, you sit very still, trying not to look too wounded, too angry, too foreign. Trust is slow to return, but it does, bit by bit. It comes in the form of a child handing you a carved figure of a sea turtle, in a shared meal where no one reaches for a weapon. In the moment, a Malagasy chief defends your republic to another, calling it an idea that can float, if not sink under its own weight. You're not sure if it's a compliment, but you'll take it. A few pirates propose formalizing these diplomatic ties, maybe even creating a council that includes Malagasy voices. Others scoff. What's next? Taxes. But a vote is held anyway. The majority agree. And so, one rainy afternoon, under a canopy made of stitched sails and palm leaves, the first mixed pirate Malagasy council meets. You serve roasted yam and smoked fish. They bring fresh limes and a ceremonial drum. No one knows what to say at first. Then someone sneezes loudly and blames the lemur. Everyone laughs. The ice is broken. The council drafts new laws, nothing grand, just simple rules, shared land rights, mutual defense, no theft within the settlement, and a new ban on public drunken sword duels before sunrise after a particularly embarrassing incident involving a goat and someone's second-best boots. There's still no flag, there's still no anthem, but you feel something shifting. This isn't just a pirate hideout anymore. It's a living, breathing, squabbling, ridiculous republic with roots stretching deeper into the island's soil. At night, you lie back in your hammock and watch the fireflies blink like tiny stars. You hear voices in multiple languages, some raised in laughter, some in song, some in argument. You think about how strange it is being here, being part of this impossible thing that shouldn't work but sort of does. You remember when your biggest worry was getting keel-hauled or catching scurvy. Now you're worrying about crop rotation and whether the lemur is eating too many important documents. Progress, you suppose. One of the Malagasy elders you've grown close to says something as you pass her hut. Ideas are like seeds. They die if they are just carried, but plant them and maybe they grow. You nod, not entirely sure what she means. But later, as the wind rocks your hammock and Parliament curls up beside you, tail twitching, you think maybe, just maybe, your republic is starting to grow roots. By now, your hammock's developed a permanent dent in the middle, and your spine might never forgive you. But you barely notice anymore because something odd is happening. Something almost magical in the mud and smoke and tangled languages of this unlikely settlement. Libertalia, they start calling it. Sometimes Libertatia, depending on who's writing it down or how much rum they've had. But the name sticks like a tattoo that won't wash off, whispered by sailors who never even set foot on Madagascar but dream of a place where they can sleep without fear of the noose. You never actually signed anything to make it official. No flag was hoisted. No anthem composed beyond a few drunk sea shanties and a tune someone insists is based on dolphin mating calls. But here you are anyway, building something real from scratch, using nothing but planks, promises, and the fragile goodwill of men and women who mostly just want to not die violently. It's not a utopia, not even close. The goats keep eating your laundry. The well has to be dug twice because the first one tastes like someone dropped a cannonball in it. But the people, they are trying. A few ex-slaves who escaped from plantation ships now serve as cooks and guards, some having learned Malagasy faster than you learn to duck under low doorways. A pair of Portuguese sailors open a school for navigation, teaching from a soggy chart they've glued to a driftwood board, and a Malagasy midwife becomes the unofficial mayor, not because she wants power, but because she's the only one who can get a group of pirates to shut up without raising her voice. The rules of Libertalia are written, eventually, in 3 different languages and 11 different levels of handwriting. There's a vote on whether chickens can qualify as citizens. 3 say yes, 2 abstain. 1 throws a chicken at the meeting and storms off. The final verdict is no, but the chicken is allowed to attend assemblies under supervision, Property is communal within reason. Stealing from your neighbor is frowned upon unless it's really funny, in which case you must return the item and compliment the victim's beard. You're not quite sure how this works, but it does. Somehow. Historians still argue whether Libertalia ever truly existed the way the legends say. Some claim it was nothing more than pirate fan fiction, a libertarian fever dream invented decades after the fact. But the bones of something were here, the remnants of huts, the fragments of statutes, the oral stories passed down through Malagasy families who still speak of the strange, smelly men with loud voices and kind eyes. Something happened here, something that mattered. You helped draw up a rotating council, 5 pirates, 5 Malagasy, 1 swing vote that goes to whoever wins the weekly stone toss competition, which is either a test of aim or brute strength depending on the weather. This week, the swing vote belongs to a one-eyed carpenter named Merk who once tried to build a boat from cactus and anger. His platform is No More Mornings, which garners significant support. Taxes are simple. If you find gold, share some. If you find food, share more. If you build a roof and someone needs shade, let them under it. Enforcement is mostly by collective peer pressure and the looming presence of Vola, who now carries a ledger and a machete, and uses both with terrifying efficiency. The punishment for repeated mischief is usually community labor, or being forced to sleep next to the guy who never stops humming through his nose. Few crimes are worth that fate. You start seeing alliances you never expected. A Welsh gunner marries a Malagasy weaver and suddenly starts wearing bright orange tunics. A Jamaican cook becomes a local hero for inventing a hybrid dish involving clove-stewed fish and deep-fried bananas. Even Parliament, the lemur, has taken up part-time duties as morale officer and unofficial judge of disputes, usually by licking whoever he thinks is right. You lose 2 arguments in a row and begin bribing him with mango slices. At some point, a scribe named Misson shows up, clutching a water-damaged notebook and talking in grandiose metaphors about justice and equality. He's eloquent, a bit pompous, but sincere. He calls this place the Republic of Free Men and starts writing down everything that happens. He claims it's history in the making. Some say he exaggerates. Others say he's the only one making sense. He doesn't last long, vanishes after a few months, depending on who you ask, either to start another settlement or because someone made a joke about his poetry. But his ideas stick around. The notion that freedom isn't just for sailors or nobles or landowners, but for anyone willing to fight for it. You try building a watchtower, but it collapses. Then a forge, which works until someone mistakes the bellows for a musical instrument. Still progress. You draft a list of principles, everyone votes. No slavery, no hierarchy that can't be voted out, and hammocks for all if possible. A French pirate insists on calling them freedom nets, but no one listens. It's not elegant, but it's honest. That's more than most nations can say. One evening, A passing dhow from the Comoros Islands docks and its crew stares wide-eyed at your settlement. They ask what this place is, and a boy with a stick in his teeth and one sandal on answers, "It's home." No one corrects him. You share food, you share stories, and when they leave they promise to tell others what they saw. You smile. Reputation is a powerful thing, almost as good as a wall and far cheaper. Of course, not all is perfect. Disagreements flare. One group wants a formal guard. Another says weapons are oppression. Someone proposes renaming the settlement Freedomia and is chased into the river. There's always one guy who thinks he should be king, and always 5 more who dunk him in the pig trough until he changes his mind. But over time, a rhythm forms. Work, vote, rest, argue, feast, fix what broke, repeat. You spend nights looking at the stars, wondering if any other place on earth is trying something this strange and noble and doomed. You doubt it. Libertalia is a paradox. It is chaos woven into cooperation. It is order built on sea legs and shaky compromises. It is a place where nothing works the way it should, and yet somehow everything holds together. A Malagasy elder once told you that the best seeds grow from compost. That decay is part of the cycle. You think about that when the garden floods or the fishing boats return empty. And yet no one talks about leaving. Not really. Because there's something intoxicating here. Not the rum, though that helps, but the sense that, for once, you're not just running from something. You're running toward it. The dream of Libertalia may not survive the decade. It may splinter or be swallowed by empire or swallowed by the sea. But for now, it floats. It lives. In the laughter under moonlight. In the hammock gently swaying between 2 palm trees, in the shared meals and makeshift laws and the endless, messy, beautiful attempt to be free together. You wake up to the smell of burnt rice and someone attempting to sing in 3 languages at once. Not unpleasantly, just oddly. It's market day in Libertalia again. Or what passes for one. You shuffle past a tent made from patchwork sails, a stall that might be selling jewelry or possibly bits of old cutlery, and a Malagasy girl offering woven fish traps with prices that fluctuate wildly based on how much you smile. Trade has become the heartbeat of your oddball community, not the plundering kind of trade you're used to, the sword-to-throat negotiation that ends with cannonballs and curses, but something gentler, quieter. You hand over a bottle of rum and get a sack of dried rice in return. Fair. Even if the rice tastes faintly of mango leaves and mystery. Arab dhows from Oman and the Comoros have started appearing more frequently, slipping through the channel with their curved sails like whispers across the sea. They're not here to judge, at least not out loud, but they are curious. They bring dates, cinnamon, ivory trinkets, and the soft cloths that make even the gruffest pirates contemplate adding a sash to their look. In return, they take home cloves, smoked fish, and sometimes tales of your odd republic, though you suspect those tales grow taller each time they cross the sea. Historians still argue whether these Arab traders respected Libertalia or merely tolerated it for its goods. Some accounts speak of real alliances. Others hint at mutual eye-rolling under polite smiles. Still, you manage a kind of dance. The Dhow captains love your salt-dried eels, and you've developed a taste for their honeyed almonds, so a mutual tolerance blossoms. One day, someone barters a musket for a crate of coffee beans, and by the next morning, half the camp is vibrating with caffeine-induced ambition. That's the day you build 2 new huts and a completely unnecessary wooden giraffe. Energy well spent, probably. But it's not just sailors you meet. From the highlands, barefoot Malagasy traders trek in with baskets of tamarind, wooden carvings, and sour fruit that tastes like regret. You trade tobacco, beads, and the occasional wool sock for their offerings, always under the curious gaze of elders who have seen more kingdoms rise and fall than you've had birthdays. You try to explain the Republic, your rules, your funny rituals, but mostly they nod politely and ask if you've got any sugar left. The alliances you forge are less about paperwork and more about repetition. A Comorian ship returns twice, then a third time, and by the fourth the crew doesn't even bother knocking. They anchor, hop off, and ask what's for dinner. They're not exactly family, but they are close enough to borrow your pots and forget to return them. Trust, you realize, is measured here not by contracts, but by shared meals and unspoken favors. A pot of honey left on the dock, a warning about a storm whispered at night, a borrowed blade returned sharper than before. Of course, not everyone's thrilled by your existence. A Portuguese missionary once stumbles in, clutching a wooden cross and looking like someone just told him he'd wandered into a fever dream. He tries to preach, makes it halfway through a sermon about sin before Parliament the lemur pees on his robe. He stays, oddly enough, sleeping in the corner of the forge and eventually carving small icons for trade. He never converts anyone, but he does improve the local soap recipe, which many consider a fair exchange. You begin to notice patterns in the barter system that weren't there before. Someone starts keeping a ledger, not for taxes, just for fun. It reveals that dried crab legs are somehow the most traded item in the whole camp. No one understands why, but a thriving crab-based economy springs up almost overnight. A Malagasy boy invents a sling for carrying them on your hip. The design catches on, and soon even the toughest pirates are accessorizing with crustacean chic. Fashion is fluid when you don't have mirrors. Fringe tales reach your ears too. A rumor spreads that someone traded a map to buried treasure for a single perfect lychee. Another says a Malagasy trader once bartered his shadow to a pirate in exchange for safe passage. A story you hope is just metaphor, though you swear you've seen a man in the village who never casts one. The scholar types say it's just lighting. You say it's bedtime logic and let it slide. Not every alliance is simple. A ship arrives one day bearing an English flag, its captain suspiciously well dressed for these waters. He claims to be a friend, claims he believes in your republic. Then he starts asking odd questions. How many men do you have? What defenses protect the bay? Does anyone keep watch at night? By dinner, no one's answering him directly, and by morning his ship is gone, along with 2 crates of cinnamon and someone's best boots. You post a sign after that. Guests welcome, spies not. It's spelled phonetically and includes a cartoon drawing of a rat with a monocle. Message received. Still, the majority of your visitors come in peace, or at least in curiosity. They bring news of the outside world. That France is fighting with half of Europe again. That a Dutch colony up north collapsed because its governor believed in ghosts more than grain storage. That a prince in Zanzibar has started writing poetry about sea cucumbers. You nod. All interesting, but mostly irrelevant when you're just trying to keep the chickens from climbing into the grain bin again. You host a cultural exchange feast one night, organized mostly by Vola and a retired Dutch pirate who insists he was once a dancer. The Malagasy roast cassava in clay pits. The pirates make something they call meat surprise, which should probably remain a surprise forever. The Comorian crew offers a coffee ceremony so delicate it nearly brings a tear to your eye. Even the Portuguese missionary joins, offering strange flatbread from a recipe he claims is holy. No one argues. Everyone eats. The night ends with drumming, laughter, and the accidental marriage of 2 people who didn't realize their dance was legally binding under local custom. They take it surprisingly well. Historians still argue whether Libertalia's trade system was sustainable, or just a prolonged honeymoon period before the inevitable arrival of empire. But from your hammock, watching a Malagasy fisherman teach a Spanish sailor how to weave baskets while a monkey steals both their lunches, you think sustainability is overrated. Harmony, even if brief, is worth more than a ledger of projected income. You learn to value the handshake more than the signature, the story more than the profit, and maybe, just maybe, the community more than the gold you used to chase like a dog after a cart. The rice you traded for earlier that week burns again, but you don't mind, because while the food may be scorched, the bonds are real, and that's a kind of wealth even kings can't print. The morning air clings to your skin like damp parchment as the sound of squabbling drifts over the half-finished roof of the meeting hut. The central fire pit smolders from last night's council, and Parliament the lemur is already perched on the high rafter, ready to observe another day of wildly interpretive governance. You drag yourself up from your hammock, stretching out muscles stiff from sleeping in a position you're fairly sure defies both medicine and physics. Today's agenda, scrawled in charcoal on a piece of driftwood, reads: 1. Dock rules. 2. Chickens in Parliament. 3. Captain votes equals equal. That last one's been debated for a week and resolved 3 separate times, but no one can agree on what the resolution was. The Republic breathes, but not always rhythmically. Decision-making is a communal sport here, equal parts shouting match, theater, and group therapy. Pirates, it turns out, are passionate about fairness until it inconveniences them. A vote is called to limit rum rations during the hottest part of the day, after one too many pirates passed out in the communal well. Half the camp votes yes, the other half votes no, and one man votes spaghetti, claiming he thought it was dinner-related. He's excused, and a recount begins. The vote passes, is immediately overturned, then reinstated after someone offers a compromise. No rum, but unlimited fermented coconut milk. This leads to more injuries than the rum ever did, but the rules remain, because they were voted in, and that's what matters. At the center of this slowly swirling whirlpool of democracy is the code, a loose document hammered out in the early days, back when everything still smelled like sea salt and optimism. It states that all voices are equal, that captains serve at the pleasure of the crew, and that no man may hoard treasure while his brothers go hungry. It's noble, it's aspirational, and it's deeply confusing when someone tries to enforce it during an argument over who owns a hammock that mysteriously relocates itself every night. Historians still argue whether this code was ever written down in full or just passed along in sweaty handshakes and dramatic retellings. Every few weeks, someone calls for a great assembly, which sounds more impressive than it is. Basically, everyone gets slightly cleaner than usual, sits in a large circle, and yells until consensus is achieved, or someone faints from heat and ends the session prematurely. You've seen debates over what constitutes theft. Is stealing back your stolen boots from a thief really theft? Spiral into philosophical tangents about the meaning of ownership. Someone once quoted Aristotle. Someone else countered with "my parrot says otherwise." Surprisingly, the parrot made a strong point. Quirky compromises keep the gears turning. When no one could agree on who should guard the southern cliffs, the solution was to rotate the duty weekly, chosen by a shell draw from a basket filled with mollusks of varying sizes. The biggest shell meant first shift, the smallest meant a week off. Somehow, this worked better than any schedule ever printed on paper. When a Dutch pirate and a Malagasy carpenter fought over the name of a new street, they settled it with a foot race. The carpenter won. The street is now called Runs Quick Alley, which no one actually uses because it sounds made up, but the sign is there, and that's the point. Democracy, you learn, is not about tidiness. It's about arguing until you care more about peace than about being right. And maybe, just maybe, about finding ways to laugh while you do it. When tensions rise too high, someone inevitably yells, "Trial by coconut," a phrase that refers to a peculiar custom where both parties must sit on opposite ends of a balance beam and answer questions while holding a coconut on their head. The first to drop it loses. It's ridiculous, and yet oddly effective. More than one feud has ended with both parties collapsing into laughter and eating the coconuts instead. But not every disagreement is quaint. One evening, a charismatic ex-privateer named Briggs tries to stage what he calls a constitutional recalibration, which is pirate speak for "I want to be in charge again." He makes a rousing speech, offers to triple everyone's rum rations, and even hands out smoked goat meat as bribes. For a moment, It seems like he might sway enough people to declare himself leader. Then Vola, quiet as ever, steps forward and reads from the original code aloud. Something about no kings, no masters, no tyrants in disguise. She doesn't shout, she doesn't need to. Her voice cuts through the camp like wind through dry grass. Briggs leaves the next morning without a word, his goat smell lingering longer than his ambition. Still, the cracks show sometimes. You've got a man who insists on voting with puppets he's made of old corn husks. Another who trades his vote for back scratches, then forgets what he voted for, and demands a recount. There's no perfect system here, only a shared agreement to pretend that it's working until it does. One afternoon, someone proposes dividing the camp into zones to better manage shared resources. A committee is formed. It meets 3 times. The third meeting ends in a pie fight. No zones are established, but 3 new pie recipes are discovered, so everyone counts it as a win. Historians still debate whether this form of pirate democracy was truly egalitarian or simply the loudest chaos that worked. The truth, as usual, probably lies somewhere in between. What is certain is that decisions got made, not always wisely but never without input. And when rules were broken, the response wasn't always punishment. Sometimes it was a long conversation. Sometimes it was public shame. And occasionally, it was someone being forced to wear the hat of reflection. A ridiculous feathered monstrosity that made you sit quietly by the goat pen until you admitted what you'd done wrong. Surprisingly effective, also itchy. The chickens never do get a vote, but they remain a hot topic. A small faction argues that since they outnumber the humans, they deserve representation. Others claim this is absurd, pointing out that chickens can't even agree on where to sleep, let alone policy. The debate ends when one chicken lays an egg directly into the boot of the would-be chicken ambassador. No further meetings are called. You watch this strange republic evolve, not quickly, not smoothly, but undeniably. You begin to feel what it's like to belong to a place not because of blood or conquest or coin, but because you showed up and stayed and spoke and listened. Even when your voice cracked, even when you were wrong, even when the meeting lasted 4 hours and ended with someone throwing a coconut through the suggestion box. So you keep showing up. You vote when you understand the question. You abstain when you don't. You laugh when things go sideways. And in a world where kings rule with iron and nobles with gold, you sit beside a carpenter, a cook, a thief, and a barefoot drummer, and you argue about whether hammocks should be taxed. Not because it matters all that much, but because it's yours to decide. The rules start off as jokes. One-liners passed around the fire with a half smile and a splash of rum, half mint but oddly practical. No stealing hammocks from sleeping men. No cooking goats inside shared sleeping quarters. Whoever steps in the fish guts cleans the knives. At first, they are suggestions, then warnings, and finally, over time, etched into driftwood signs, bark scrolls, and memory. You read them like scripture if scripture came with doodles of angry parrots and reminders to wash your feet before entering the rum hut. It's funny, really. Pirates are supposed to be lawless, but you've never lived somewhere with so many rules. Not harsh ones, not arbitrary ones, but strange and specific, surprisingly thoughtful ones. No duels before breakfast. No hoarding salt during monsoon season. No waking someone from a nap unless the camp is actually on fire, and even then politely. These aren't just rules. They are survival guides. They are a social contract in sandalwood ink, patched together from too many bruises and the careful observation of what keeps people from stabbing each other over hammocks or mangoes. The laws of Libertalia, if you even want to call them that, aren't written in any one book. They drift across the Republic like seeds. Some fall flat, some take root, and some, well, they grow into mighty, absurd oaths, like the law of the 3 bananas, which declares that no pirate may carry more than 3 bananas at a time, lest the gods think they are greedy and strike them with tropical clumsiness. It started as a joke after a pirate named Claude slipped on his 4th banana and fell face first into a turtle nest. Now, it's enforced with playful vigilance. Try to carry 4 and you'll find yourself surrounded by chanting children with feathers in their hair, singing, 3 is plenty, 4 is doom. Peer pressure is a powerful legislative force. Still, some rules are genuinely wise. There's one about treasure sharing. Any gold, jewels, or rare finds from ship raids are divided evenly. 10 shares for the crew, 1 for the injured, and 1 for the Republic Fund. That last one pays for community repairs, hammocks, fishing nets, and yes, goat feed. It might be the world's first known pirate welfare program, and it works. There's less resentment, fewer betrayals, and an unspoken promise that no one gets left behind. Historians still argue whether this was borrowed from shipboard codes used in the Caribbean or a homegrown invention tailored for the Malagasy sun. Either way, it feels right. Disputes are common, but the justice system here is more theater than tyranny. There's a tribunal sometimes. It's 3 respected members of the community, often rotating, who sit on a painted log beneath the breadfruit tree. They wear robes made from stitched-together sails, which makes them look like mildly disgruntled ghosts. You once saw a man accused of stealing a fishing spear defend himself by composing a sea shanty about how the spear called to him in a dream. The tribunal found him not guilty, but gave the spear back anyway, on the grounds that dreams can't own property. There's no prison, just chores, and exile rarely, and more often community shaming through song and parody. Someone writes a mocking verse, everyone sings it for a week, and the accused usually gets the point. Sometimes they apologize. Sometimes they move away. Sometimes they lean into the joke and earn back everyone's favor. It's not perfect justice, but it keeps the blades sheathed and the goats calm. And honestly, it's easier to sleep at night knowing your neighbor isn't plotting revenge over a moldy bread dispute. You'd think it'd be chaotic, that it would fall apart like every other dream of utopia. But it doesn't, because here's the secret. These pirates aren't utopians. They are realists with good humor. They know people get jealous, tired, hungry, bored. They plan for it. There's a rule that says every camp must have at least one official nap area. There's another that requires people to take turns telling stories on nights when the rain won't stop. These are emotional survival laws. Soft, strange scaffolds for a society born from planks, coral, and leftover rage at monarchies that never cared about them. You begin to notice the shape of something beautiful forming, not despite the silliness but because of it. This is a place where laws grow slowly like vines trained up bamboo poles. A place where the rules reflect the people, not imposed from a throne but stitched together like a hammock, strand by strand. Even the children know the laws, especially the children. They are the fiercest enforcers. You once tried to cut in line for fried plantains and were tackled by a 5-year-old with a fake badge and a real sense of moral outrage. There's even an annual Law Day celebration. It begins with a ceremonial reading of the oldest rules, accompanied by drums and laughter. Then everyone's invited to propose new laws, but only if they rhyme. You hear proposals like, no peeing near the kitchen, even if you're wishing, or don't feed mangoes to goats unless you want floaty notes. Some are rejected, some are accepted and then promptly forgotten, but a few stick. The rhymes help oddly. They're easy to remember, especially when whispered under starlight by someone leaning out of a hammock, asking if it's still illegal to fish with fire. The goat ownership debate reaches a fever pitch. Turns out, too many goats in a shared republic create diplomatic incidents. A man named Raffi claims 3 goats are his by birthright, descended from a legendary sea goat brought from Zanzibar. Another swears he traded a magic shell for one, and that technically it should still belong to the ocean. A committee is formed. Mediation is attempted. The final compromise. Goats may be owned but must be registered via hoofprint on a bark ledger kept by a teenage girl named Emina who takes her job very seriously. The goats are indifferent, but the Republic survives another week. Historians still debate whether Libertalia had a constitution, or even considered itself a state at all. But if a society is a set of stories we agree to live by, then you're living in one written in laughter, hammocks, salt wind, and an almost religious respect for well-timed naps. The rules are strange, sure, but they work. And isn't that the best kind of law? Not the one carved in stone, but the one you remember, smile at, and follow because it makes life better. So, you hang your hammock up high tonight. Just beneath the whispering thatch roof, you hear the distant squawk of a parrot repeating one of the stranger laws. No pants, no plantains. You don't know why it started, but you obey it anyway, because somehow it all makes sense here. A republic of dreamers, raiders, cooks, poets, and barefoot lawmakers. And goats, always goats. You step into the bustling market of the Hammock Republic, where the air smells of salt, ripe mangoes, and the faint tang of rum. It's not your typical marketplace. No shiny coins clink here. Instead, trade happens in hammocks, coconuts, fish, and stories. A hammock can be as valuable as a pouch of spices. A well-cooked meal might earn you a fresh pair of sandals made from old sails. The economy hums with the rhythm of need and creativity, a system built on trust and occasional bluffing. Imagine this. You've just come back from a raid with a sack of stolen silver spoons and some fragrant cloves. You don't really want the spoons. They're too easy to spot back home, so you swap them with Nala, the hammock weaver, for 2 hand-woven nets and a crate of fresh fish. She knows the value of fish better than the taste of silver. Meanwhile, someone else trades goat cheese for a carved wooden pipe. Barter is the language here, and it's spoken with flair. Pirates bring with them an interesting twist to the economy. Stolen goods circulate like a secret currency. A rare compass or a silk scarf from faraway lands is prized, but only if you don't ask too many questions. The best traders don't just sell items, they sell stories about the items. That old compass belonged to a captain who once outran a storm the size of a mountain. The silk scarf smells faintly of jasmine and mystery. These tales add weight and wonder to otherwise simple goods. Value here isn't just measured in utility but in legend. Historians still argue whether this barter economy was sustainable, or just a clever illusion masking a fragile survival strategy. Some say the Republic flirted with using coins, brought in by passing ships. Others believe the pirates deliberately avoided metal currency, fearing capture or theft. The Hammock Republic preferred its own currency, one woven from trust, reputation, and the gentle exchange of favors. That might explain why debts here are repaid in fish dinners or stories rather than silver. Another quirky aspect is the hammock credit system. If you promise to return with coconuts or mending rope, people will lend you a hammock or a day's worth of firewood. It's a delicate balance of goodwill and mutual dependence. Breaking this trust isn't just bad manners. It can get you ostracized faster than you can say seaweed stew. There's an old saying here: a broken promise is heavier than an anchor. It sticks in your mind as you watch a pair of traders shake hands, their agreement as firm as the salty breeze. The Republic also shows remarkable environmental savvy in its economy. Everything has a cycle. The pirates respect the coral reefs and fish stocks because they know these are the real treasures. Overfishing or burning the mangroves would be economic suicide. Instead, they fish with care, harvest coconuts sustainably, and trade in goods that don't harm the land. This balance is part practicality and part respect for the island that gives them life and shelter. It's a lesson that modern economists are just beginning to appreciate. Then there's the curious case of story coins. A legendary pirate named Razan once created wooden tokens etched with tales of daring and survival. These tokens were given as gifts or rewards for bravery and good deeds. They didn't buy food or hammocks, but they bought respect. And in a society built on oral history and reputation, respect is everything. Some pirates still carry these tokens tucked inside their shirts, a reminder that not all value is tangible. You notice that women play a huge role in this economy, running stalls, weaving nets, and organizing trade expeditions. They wield influence quietly but firmly. Some historians argue that the hammock republic's economy was partly a matriarchal miracle, with women holding the threads that kept commerce and social order intact. If true, this would challenge the usual image of pirates as solely rough, rowdy men. Trade fairs, held on moonlit nights, turn into vibrant celebrations. Barter becomes storytelling, music, and dance. A successful trade deal might end with a shared cup of fermented coconut drink and a fire lit by whispered sea legends. This blending of economy and culture blurs the lines between business and community. You realize the hammock republic's economy isn't just about survival. It's about creating a life worth living. One where hammocks sway, goats roam freely, and the value of a thing is measured by the warmth it brings. You stretch out in a hammock, feeling the woven fibers cradle you gently like an old friend's arms. But here in the Pirate Republic, hammocks aren't just for sleep. They're badges, symbols, and sometimes even weapons in the subtle game of status. A finely woven hammock, dyed with bright colors from island berries or stitched with intricate patterns, announces its owner's place in the social hierarchy. It's the difference between a captain nodding your way or a grunt pretending not to notice you. Think about it. Pirates are often pictured with gold chains and flashy hats, but here, a hammock is the ultimate flex. Owning a hammock crafted by the famed weaver Nala, whose fingers dance over fibers like a pianist over keys, can earn you respect and even envy. People might admire the double stitching, the clever use of palm fiber mixed with imported cotton, or the subtle scent of sea salt that clings to the weave. It's a tactile statement that says, "I belong here. I've earned this." Some hammocks are passed down through families like heirlooms. Others are traded for feats of bravery or successful raids. You might hear a pirate boast about sleeping in the ghost hammock, said to be woven from threads stolen from a royal ship, or about the storm hammock that supposedly saved its owner during a violent gale. These stories swirl around hammocks like the island mist, making them both practical and legendary. Historians still argue whether the emphasis on hammocks as status objects developed naturally or was deliberately cultivated by pirate leaders to enforce social order. Some scholars suggest the hammocks worked as non-violent tools of control, a quiet way to reward loyalty and punish dissent. Others believe the tradition emerged more spontaneously, a product of the pirates' need to claim identity amid chaos. One quirky tradition involves decorating hammocks with tiny charms made from shells, feathers, or even small bones. These are said to ward off evil spirits, bad luck, or jealous rivals. It's a blend of superstition and style that makes each hammock unique. You might spot a hammock with a bright blue bead to protect from the eye of the sea, or a tiny carved shark tooth sewn into the corner for strength. These details, invisible to the casual observer, carry stories that only insiders understand. The hammock also acts as a social signal at gatherings and feasts. Sitting in a certain style or in a particular hammock can indicate your rank, your clan, or your recent accomplishments. It's a non-verbal language that pirates use effortlessly. Imagine trying to crash a meeting when you don't know the secret hammock codes. Awkward, right? Women's hammocks often feature different decorations than men's, signaling their roles and achievements in the community. Some women decorate with floral motifs, others with geometric shapes, linked to their lineage or craft. These design choices add layers of meaning that historians are still deciphering. The hammock republic might have invented a unique form of social semiotics, where fabric and thread tell your story better than words. You also notice that hammocks serve a diplomatic role. When rival pirate groups meet, they sometimes exchange hammocks as peace offerings or alliance symbols. Giving someone a hammock can mean, "I trust you," or "let's share the night sky." It's a gesture heavier than a sword and softer than a handshake. This tradition confounds outside observers who expect violence and suspicion, not delicate diplomacy. In the end, the hammock isn't just a bed. It's a living artifact, woven with meaning and memory. When you swing gently, feeling the fibers hum beneath you, you're connecting with centuries of pirate lives. Each thread tells a story of survival, rebellion, and a peculiar kind of grace that only those who have built a republic on hammocks and laws can understand. It's a quiet power, swaying softly in the ocean breeze. You settle into a sturdy hammock hanging between two sturdy coconut palms, the dappled sunlight playing on its woven surface. But this isn't just any hammock. It's the seat of judgment, where the pirate council gathers to weave not just fabric but the very laws that hold their fragile society together. In the hammock republic, hammocks transform into more than places to rest. They become thrones for deliberation, negotiation, and sometimes fierce debate. Picture this scene. The council members, a motley crew of captains, elders, and respected weavers, each recline in their hammocks arranged in a wide circle. The ocean's rhythmic pulse sets the pace of discussion. No one rushes. Opinions float gently like seaweed on the tide. But beneath the calm, stakes are high. Decisions here shape life and death, order and chaos. The hammocks are symbols of authority, but also of equality. No raised platform or throne, just swinging seats at eye level. The hammocks act as physical reminders that leadership in the pirate republic is a balancing act. Literally. Sitting too stiffly risks tipping over, and that's a metaphor the pirates appreciate. Leaders must balance strength with flexibility. A law too harsh breaks the fragile social fabric. One too loose invites disorder. This metaphor is embedded in the culture so deeply that even the youngest pirate understands it. Historians still argue whether the hammock council's structure drew inspiration from traditional Malagasy practices, or if it evolved independently from pirate needs. Some suggest parallels with Malagasy community gatherings, where open-air meetings and shared storytelling shape consensus. Others propose that the Hammock Republics Council model is a unique fusion of African, Malagasy, and pirate maritime influences. Either way, the hammocks set a distinct tone. One quirky detail is the use of special debate hammocks, reserved for those presenting disputes or grievances. These hammocks are often decorated with knots symbolizing patience and clarity. The speaker rocks gently, emphasizing points with rhythmic sways. Listeners respond with nods, murmurs, or silence, the latter sometimes louder than words. This style of debate feels more like a dance than a courtroom drama, calming tempers rather than inflaming them. Women often hold seats in this council, their hammocks placed strategically to ensure their voices weave through the conversation. Their influence extends beyond mere presence. Some pirate women are renowned judges and mediators. This role challenges common stereotypes of pirate societies. You might be surprised to learn that some of the most respected pirate laws originated from these women's insights and experiences. The laws crafted in these hammock seats cover a wide range. Rules about sharing booty fairly, protocols for handling disputes without bloodshed, agreements on protecting the island's resources, even customs for hammock borrowing and repairs. The legal code is a living tapestry, amended as the Republic grows and faces new challenges. It's a system that values consensus and community over punishment. There's also an intriguing tradition where certain hammocks are retired when a law is passed or an issue resolved. These hammocks are woven with extra care and hung in sacred groves as reminders of the Republic's journey. Touching these retired hammocks is said to bring wisdom and calm. Some pirates whisper that these relics hold the voices of past leaders, echoing in the rustle of their fibers. You can almost hear the quiet hum of debate as hammocks sway gently in the ocean breeze. The Hammock Republic's justice system might seem informal to outsiders, but it's a finely tuned dance of respect, storytelling, and shared responsibility. As you imagine sitting in one of these council hammocks, you understand that laws here are not just rules. They are promises woven into the very fabric of pirate life. You stroll barefoot along a bustling pirate market set right beside the turquoise sea, where colorful hammocks hang between palm trees like flags signaling a pirate haven. The air is thick with the scent of salt, spices, and roasting fish. Merchants call out, voices low and conspiratorial, offering exotic goods and hammock strands dyed with secret recipes. Here, trade winds don't just carry ships, they carry stories, goods, and the lifeblood of the pirate republic's economy. Imagine the hammocks themselves as vital currency, not just for comfort or status, but as barter items. A hammock woven from rare fibers might be traded for fresh fish or a gunpowder keg. Pirates value these textiles because they are portable wealth. You can sling your hammock over your shoulder and walk away richer than with a sack of coins, which could be lost or stolen in a heartbeat. It's a practical economy built on trust, skill, and the textures of fabric. Historians still argue whether these pirate markets were early forms of free trade, or if they were heavily regulated by pirate chiefs. Some records suggest that captains imposed strict controls on what could be traded to prevent rival factions from gaining too much power. Others believe the markets operated more like wild bazaars, full of haggling and intrigue. Either way, they were crucial hubs where hammocks and more changed hands. One quirky market tradition involves hammock fortune-telling, where traders wrap special hammocks around palm branches and interpret the way the fabric twists and flutters in the breeze. This is said to reveal the luck or fortune of a prospective buyer. Some pirates swear by these predictions, while others laugh it off as harmless superstition. Still, it adds an air of mystique to the market atmosphere. Goods flowing through the markets include not only hammocks, but also weapons, spices, woven baskets, tropical fruits, and sometimes curiosities like shark teeth or bits of old shipwreck wood. The market is a patchwork of cultures: African, Malagasy, Arab, European, each bringing its own goods and gossip. You could find a hammock dyed with indigo from East Africa next to a crate of cloves from Indonesia. The mingling of trade winds and peoples creates a vibrant, chaotic scene. Women often run many of the market stalls, managing the flow of goods and negotiating deals with practiced skill. Their role here echoes the Republic's broader social dynamics, where leadership is less about brute force and more about cunning and community. Some women are known as hammock brokers, experts in quality and provenance. They can spot a counterfeit hammock from a mile away and aren't shy about calling out frauds. The market also functions as an informal news hub. Pirates exchange updates on Royal Navy movements, weather forecasts, and rumors of new pirate groups forming. Hammocks sometimes carry secret messages sewn into their fringes or hidden in knots. This kind of coded communication kept the Republic one step ahead of its enemies. It's a pirate version of social media, woven rather than typed. You can almost hear the chatter and laughter mingling with the creak of ropes and the splash of waves. The pirate market is a living organism, a place where hammocks and human stories entwine, drifting with the ever-present trade winds. And through it all, the Republic thrives, sustained by exchange, trust, and the soft sway of countless hammocks under the island sky. You find yourself in a clearing beneath swaying palms, where the hum of cicadas blends with the murmurs of an eager crowd. Before you hangs a single, large hammock, woven tight and decorated with bright dyes and carved wooden beads. This hammock is more than a place to rest. It is the stage for pirate justice, a unique trial space where disputes are settled amid swaying threads and whispered testimonies. Pirate justice in the Hammock Republic is less about rigid laws and more about communal trust and storytelling. When a grievance arises, the accused and accuser take turns reclining in the trial hammock, speaking their truths while the crowd listens. The gentle rocking seems to coax honesty from even the most hardened pirates. It's a ritual blending ancient Malagasy customs with pirate pragmatism. The hammock sway mirrors the weight of their words, reminding everyone that justice must balance carefully. Historians still argue whether this hammock trial method was purely symbolic, or if the physical act of rocking influenced decisions. Some scholars suggest the movement helped calm tempers and foster empathy. Others think it was simply a practical way to keep attention during long proceedings. Regardless, the trials are known for their theatricality and surprising fairness in a world often marked by violence. One quirky feature of these trials is the hammock oath, where participants promise truthfulness by touching a specific knot in the hammock's weave. Breaking this oath carries social consequences harsher than formal punishment. Pirates rely on honor codes more than swords here. The oath knot is said to be blessed by a mysterious hammock spirit, a folklore figure who protects the Republic's integrity. Women frequently serve as judges and mediators in these hammock courts. Their voices, calm and steady, help untangle conflicts and guide the community toward resolution. This role contrasts sharply with the typical pirate image of chaotic brawls and quick justice. Instead, you witness a society that values dialogue and social cohesion. It's a surprising blend of order and freedom. The issues debated in hammock trials range widely, from disputes over stolen booty or broken promises to conflicts over hammock ownership and repair duties. Sometimes the trials address bigger questions, like how to respond to outside threats or whether to accept new pirate groups into the Republic. These trials are not just legal procedures, but forums for shaping community values. An odd but telling tradition involves the silent hammock, an empty hammock hung during trials when a key figure is absent or when silence is demanded for solemn reflection. The empty swing speaks volumes. It's a reminder of loss, absence, or the weight of consequences. The crowd falls quiet, respecting the symbolic presence of those not there. You realize the hammock trials are more than a justice system. They are a communal heartbeat, syncing the Republic's rhythms. They weave together fact, fiction, and folk wisdom. As you watch the gentle sway of the trial hammock, you understand how these pirates crafted a system where even disputes are softened by the gentle embrace of fabric and trust. You feel the sharp sting of sea spray as the pirate ship pitches wildly, the sky a roiling mass of dark clouds and thunder. Below deck, hammocks hang taut, swinging violently with the ship's every heave. These hammocks are more than places to sleep. They are lifelines in the tempest, cradling pirates through nature's fury. You clutch the hammock's rope, feeling it sway, the fibers biting into your palms as the ship fights against the storm's wrath. Storms in the Indian Ocean are legendary for their sudden ferocity. The pirates learned early that secure hammocks kept them from being tossed about, saving lives when the wooden ship creaked and groaned. Hammocks absorb the violent motions better than bunks or tied-down bedding. Even today, historians note how hammock use aboard ships revolutionized maritime safety. Pirates were early adopters of this practice, blending Malagasy weaving techniques with seafaring needs. Historians still argue whether the hammock tradition came primarily from Malagasy islanders or was influenced by African and Arab sailors who frequented these waters. Some believe the hammock's widespread use on pirate ships reflects a cultural fusion unique to this region. Others point to similar maritime practices elsewhere. Either way, the hammocks helped pirates endure brutal storms that might have sunk lesser crews. One quirky survival tactic involved pirates tying their hammocks with double knots, called storm knots, which made them swing less wildly and resist sudden snaps. These knots became part of pirate lore, a symbol of resilience. Some say mastering the storm knot was a rite of passage for new crew members, proving they could face the ocean's temper without flinching. Women aboard pirate ships also depended on hammocks during storms, often weaving personalized nets and protective covers to shield themselves from spray and cold. Their practical skills contributed to the overall safety and morale of the crew. Contrary to popular myths of pirates as purely rough and tumble, many had elaborate routines for weathering storms. Hammocks were central to this. The tempestuous weather also inspired superstitions tied to hammocks. Some pirates believed that if a hammock swung in a certain rhythm during a storm, it foretold survival or doom. This folklore blends ocean science with mystical storytelling. It's one more thread in the rich tapestry of pirate life. You can almost hear the whispered warnings passed down by generations of hammock-swinging sailors. Amid the chaos, the hammock offers a strange comfort, a swinging cradle in a world of turmoil. You realize that the pirate republic's reliance on hammocks wasn't just practical, it was deeply symbolic. The hammock represents balance amid instability, a gentle rhythm to soothe savage storms. As the thunder crashes and waves roar outside, you cling to this swinging refuge, feeling the pulse of pirate resilience. You step into a pirate captain's quarters, where a hammock hangs high between polished wooden beams, embroidered with bright threads and adorned with intricate beads. This hammock isn't just a bed, it's a statement. Its elaborate patterns tell stories of voyages, battles won, and alliances forged. In this republic of hammocks, what you swing in signals who you are. A plain hammock marks a deckhand, while a richly decorated one speaks of respect, experience, and sometimes a touch of vanity. The use of decorated hammocks as status symbols has roots deep in Malagasy culture, where textiles often encode family histories and social rank. Pirates adapted this tradition, creating personal hammock biographies woven into fabric. You might find symbols of the sea, mythical creatures, or names stitched in hidden corners. These artistic hammocks became portable identity cards. They floated through pirate society like wearable resumes. Historians still argue whether the more elaborate hammocks were made exclusively by skilled artisans within the pirate republic, or if some were traded or gifted from outside cultures. Some accounts suggest a secret guild of hammock weavers existed, preserving special techniques and patterns. Others think the artistry emerged organically as pirates told their own stories. Either way, the practice created a rich visual language on the decks. One quirky detail involves hammock tattoos, a fringe custom where pirates marked their skin with designs inspired by their hammocks' patterns. These tattoos were said to carry the spirit of the hammock and protect the wearer. Some pirates believed the tattoos connected them permanently to their home aboard ship, a reminder of identity amid constant movement. You can picture a crew of tattooed pirates, each telling a story through both fabric and flesh. Women pirates, often underestimated, used their hammocks as powerful tools of expression and negotiation. A woman's decorated hammock might double as a bargaining chip in alliances or marriages. The hammocks themselves were works of art, blending beauty and utility. This challenges the typical pirate stereotype, revealing a complex social web where textiles held subtle power. The stories woven into hammocks were passed down through song and oral history. A captain might sing a ballad about the voyage embroidered on his hammock, while younger pirates learned their heritage through these colorful patterns. Hammocks functioned like living books. Historians still debate how much these textile stories influenced broader Malagasy culture. Outside the pirate communities, some believe the pirate republic's hammock lore seeped into mainland traditions, leaving subtle marks on Malagasy art. You realize that the hammock is both cradle and canvas, a resting place and a storyteller. In the pirate republic, every thread counts, every knot holds meaning, and through these woven tales, pirates preserved their legacy, suspended in fabric and time. The sun sets slowly over the island republic, casting long shadows over empty docks and silent hammocks swinging gently in the evening breeze. You sense a quiet fading, a gentle unraveling of the pirate republic's once vibrant life. Over time, pressures from colonial powers, changing trade routes, and internal conflicts began to chip away at the hammock republic's independence. The pirates' freedom faced growing threats, and their republic slowly dissolved into history. Despite this decline, the hammock traditions endured. The weaving patterns, the justice rituals, and the symbolic status of hammocks survived in local culture. Families passed down the art of hammock making through generations, preserving the intricate designs and stories. Even today, Malagasy communities around the coast carry echoes of pirate influence in their textiles and customs. Hammocks remain a symbol of balance between freedom and order, chaos and calm. Historians still argue how much the pirate republic influenced broader Malagasy society after its fall. Some claim the republic's ideals of law and community shaped modern Malagasy governance in subtle ways. Others view the pirate republic as a fascinating but isolated experiment. What's clear is that the hammock's legacy endures, a tactile link to a past where pirates built more than ships. They built society. One quirky detail is the continued belief in hammock spirits among some coastal villages. These spirits are said to watch over those who sleep and protect travelers at sea. The folklore blends pirate myth with indigenous beliefs, a living testament to cultural fusion. It's a reminder that even after empires fall, stories and symbols swing on. Women's roles in preserving hammock traditions are often overlooked but crucial. Their weaving, storytelling, and social leadership kept the Republic's spirit alive in quieter ways. This challenges the pirate myth of male dominance, revealing a republic where women's influence was woven into every thread. You might imagine their hands, steady and skilled, passing down knowledge under starry skies. As you watch the last light fade, you understand the Hammock Republic wasn't just about pirates and plunder. It was about creating order from chaos, weaving community from diverse threads, and finding comfort amid uncertainty. The hammocks cradle not just bodies but history itself, and in their gentle sway, you feel the heartbeat of a vanished world, still alive in fabric and memory. You find yourself at a bustling coastal marketplace, the air thick with salty breeze and the scent of spices. Around you, merchants shout their wares, and piles of brightly woven hammocks sway in the hands of buyers. In this pirate republic, hammocks are more than just beds. They are valuable commodities, trade goods, and even currency. Pirates barter their crafted hammocks for food, weapons, and information, weaving the fabric of their economy as skillfully as their nets. Trade routes crisscross the Indian Ocean, connecting Madagascar, the African coast, and distant islands. The Hammock Republic sits at the crossroads, leveraging its position to become a key hub in regional commerce. Hammocks serve as portable wealth, easy to carry and highly prized. This practice echoes historical facts about the widespread use of textiles as barter items in maritime trade. Pirates here turned comfort into commerce. Historians still argue the exact scale and influence of pirate-controlled trade networks. Some see them as minor nuisances to colonial powers, while others argue pirates established sophisticated economic systems. Regardless, the hammock trade symbolizes a clever adaptation to harsh realities. You imagine ships laden with hammocks, bobbing like colorful rafts on blue waves, ferrying goods and stories across vast distances. A quirky tidbit involves pirate hammock fairs, periodic gatherings where crews exchanged hammocks and shared weaving techniques. These fairs were social as much as commercial, featuring storytelling, music, and dance. The events strengthened bonds between pirate groups, creating a loose federation united by fabric and friendship. Some say these fairs were predecessors to modern craft festivals. Women's participation in hammock commerce was vital. They often controlled weaving production and managed sales, wielding economic influence behind the scenes. This economic role challenges stereotypes about pirate women, revealing complex gender dynamics. The hammock trade empowered them in subtle but powerful ways. Their deft fingers spun not just yarn but social capital. Trade also spurred innovation. Pirates experimented with new materials, cotton blends, dyed threads, and waterproof coatings. These innovations made hammocks more durable for long voyages and varied climates. Historians still debate how much these improvements influenced hammock making outside the pirate republic. Some believe these pirate innovations seeded broader textile advances in the region. As you wander the marketplace, the vibrant colors and textures of hammocks tell a story of survival and creativity. In every knot, you hear the pulse of pirate commerce. The hammocks, swinging gently on display, remind you that even in a world of danger and rebellion, trade and culture flourish. Pirates built more than a republic. They built a marketplace of ideas, goods, and dreams. You find yourself seated in a shady grove, the soft rustle of leaves above mingling with the low murmur of voices. Around you, pirates gather not for feasting, but for justice. The hammock court convenes, a tribunal unlike any formal courtroom you've ever seen. Instead of benches or judges' seats, hammocks form the circle, each suspended at just the right height for jury members and litigants alike. This floating court is a core pillar of the pirate republic's legal order. Pirate law wasn't chaos or lawlessness. On the contrary, it was surprisingly structured. Pirates developed codes, sometimes called Articles of Agreement, detailing punishments, dispute resolution, and rights. These laws were enforced in hammock courts, where peers judged fairly, often through consensus. The hammock setting softened the severity, encouraging calm discussion amid rough men. You might say justice swung gently here, not slammed down harshly. Historians still argue how democratic these courts really were. Some records suggest a real degree of egalitarianism, with captains accountable to crews. Others point out power imbalances and factionalism. What's clear is that these hammock courts embodied the Republic's unique blend of order and freedom. They rejected tyranny but embraced communal responsibility. A quirky tradition involved hammock oaths, where accused pirates swore honesty while gripping their hammock ropes. Breaking this oath wasn't taken lightly and could lead to exile or worse. These oaths reinforced trust in a world where betrayal lurked around every corner. You can almost picture a pirate clutching the rough rope, heart pounding, as his fate swings in the balance. Women sometimes acted as mediators or advocates in hammock courts, helping resolve disputes with diplomacy. Their voices, often overlooked in history, were crucial in maintaining peace. This challenges the popular image of pirate life as all brawls and swords. Justice here had nuance and negotiation. The hammock itself became a symbol of balance between guilt and innocence, law and mercy. The use of hammocks in justice rituals also inspired legends. Some say spirits of the dead haunted the hammock courts, ensuring fairness beyond mortal means. Whether true or myth, these stories reflect the deep cultural significance of hammocks as more than furniture. They were vessels of social order. You lean back in your own imaginary hammock, feeling the weight of history and law. The Pirate Republic's hammock courts remind you that even rebels need rules, and justice can be both firm and gentle, swinging steadily in the sea breeze. You're drawn to the savory smell of cooking fires crackling on the shore. Pirates gather around low tables, their hammocks nearby, ready for after-meal rest. In the Hammock Republic, food is never just about sustenance, it's about community. Shared meals become feasts, occasions to celebrate alliances, victories, or simply survival. Hammocks form the backdrop for these gatherings, swaying gently as pirates eat, talk, and laugh. Traditional Malagasy foods blend with pirate staples: fresh fish grilled over flames, tubers boiled in earthen pots, and wild fruits plucked from the nearby jungle. The fusion of tastes mirrors the fusion of cultures. Pirate chefs experiment boldly, sometimes adding exotic spices plundered from distant ships. You can almost taste the smoky sweetness mingling with salt and spice. Historians still argue how much Malagasy cuisine influenced pirate cooking and vice versa. Some think pirate expeditions introduced new ingredients to Madagascar, changing diets. Others believe the pirates simply adapted local flavors. Either way, food is a delicious symbol of cultural exchange and survival. You imagine hammocks swaying in the breeze while stories are exchanged over plates piled high. Feasts often followed strict rituals. Before eating, a hammock ritual called the swinging blessing was performed, where pirates gently rocked their hammocks to invite good fortune. This quirky tradition reinforced gratitude and unity. You might picture a circle of hammocks, swinging in sync like a slow, peaceful dance. This shared rhythm bound the crew as much as any oath. Women played central roles in organizing feasts and managing food stores. Their expertise ensured the community stayed fed and healthy. This role often made them respected leaders in pirate society, despite common stereotypes. The Hammock Republic challenged norms, showing women's power in daily life and celebration. Beyond meals, hammock gatherings included music and storytelling. Songs about the sea, pirates' exploits, and the spirits of the island filled the air. The gentle sway of hammocks added a hypnotic pulse to the night, lulling some into dreams while inspiring others to sing louder. Historians debate how much these gatherings shaped Malagasy oral traditions or pirate mythologies. But the blend of food, music, and hammocks created a culture uniquely alive. You lean back, imagining the flickering firelight casting dancing shadows on hammocks, laughter mingling with waves. Here, in the Hammock Republic, food and festivity are woven into the fabric of everyday life, binding pirates together in comfort and celebration. You settle into a hammock that creaks softly under your weight, the ocean breeze teasing the edges of your cloak. Around you, pirate captains and council members gather quietly beneath swaying palms. Politics in the Hammock Republic isn't fought with swords alone. Instead, it unfolds in these suspended circles, where power plays and alliances twist gently like hammock ropes. Discussions here can decide the fate of entire crews, even the Republic itself. The Pirate Republic's political system is surprisingly fluid. Leadership isn't inherited or imposed by force, but negotiated through councils where each hammock holder has a voice. This collective decision-making echoes historical facts about pirate democracy, where captains were elected and could be deposed by vote. Hammocks become more than furniture. They are thrones, stages for debate, and symbols of authority. Historians still argue how effective this political system really was. Some praise it as an early form of participatory governance, while others highlight frequent factional disputes and instability. You can sense both the idealism and chaos entwined in this hammock diplomacy. Power swings like the hammocks themselves, sometimes steady, sometimes wildly unpredictable. A quirky detail: pirate diplomats sometimes used specially woven message hammocks, embroidered with secret codes and colors to communicate discreetly. These textile telegrams traveled swiftly between islands and ships, carrying warnings or proposals. You can almost picture a pirate unrolling such a hammock, decoding its intricate knots under moonlight. It's a textile spy network worthy of a thriller. Women, often skilled in weaving and secret communication, played key roles in these political intrigues. Their influence might have been subtle but was essential in brokering peace or tipping the balance of power. This challenges the popular image of pirate politics as exclusively male and violent. Instead, it reveals a nuanced tapestry of negotiation, persuasion, and strategic alliance. The Hammock Republic thrived on these quiet power shifts. As you gently rock in your hammock, you feel the pulse of political tension and camaraderie. Each sway is a vote, a whispered promise, a betrayal waiting to happen. The Hammock Republic's politics remind you that even rebels need rules and rituals to manage power, weaving order through the ever-changing currents of ambition. You drift through the echoes of time, sensing the Pirate Republic's legacy woven into the fabric of Malagasy culture. The soft sway of hammocks is not just a physical comfort, but a symbol that resonates far beyond the pirate era. Music, language, customs, and even governance in Madagascar carry threads spun by those pirates who once built a hammock-based society. The Republic's influence ripples quietly yet persistently. Pirate music, often played at hammock gatherings, mingled Malagasy rhythms with African and Arab sounds. This fusion created vibrant new genres still heard today in coastal villages. Historians note how songs from pirate times might have seeded these musical traditions. The Hammock Republic was a cradle of cultural exchange, blending diverse heritages into something uniquely Malagasy. Scholars still debate the extent of the Pirate Republic's influence on Madagascar's modern political systems. Some argue that the egalitarian and communal practices pioneered in the hammock courts laid groundwork for later governance models. Others see the Republic as a fascinating but isolated experiment. Regardless, The cultural footprint is undeniable. You imagine ancient hammocks swinging gently in the breeze, carrying whispered legacies to future generations. A quirky tidbit involves the hammock weaving dances, a traditional Malagasy ritual that some believe originated from pirate celebrations. These dances mimic the motions of weaving hammocks, honoring the craftsmanship and community spirit. Picture dancers moving fluidly, their arms weaving invisible threads through the air, echoing centuries-old pirate gatherings. It's a living memory in motion. Women's roles in weaving, storytelling, and law persisted well after the pirate era, shaping Malagasy identity. Their contributions challenge the narrow views of history, highlighting the Republic's progressive social fabric. This legacy inspires ongoing discussions about gender and power in Madagascar and beyond. You lean back, feeling the sway of history beneath you. The Hammock Republic may have been a brief flicker in the vast ocean of time, but its cultural echoes are woven into the island's soul. It's a testament to how even the most unlikely communities can leave enduring marks on the world. You feel the slow shift in the air, like a gentle tide pulling away from a familiar shore. The Pirate Republic, once vibrant with hammock courts and feasts, faces growing storms. External powers, European navies, colonial ambitions press harder against the island's freedom. Trade routes shift, alliances fracture, and the delicate hammock threads begin to fray under the weight of new realities. You sense that change, inevitable and unstoppable, is coming. Pirate power declines as navies grow stronger and anti-piracy campaigns intensify. Historically, Madagascar became a hotspot for European colonial interests in the 18th and 19th centuries. The pirate republic's loose structures struggle to resist these encroachments. Hammock courts dissolve or go underground, replaced by imposed colonial law. But remnants of the pirate spirit persist in secret gatherings and whispered tales. Historians still argue about how peaceful or violent this transition was. Some accounts suggest negotiated assimilation with Malagasy rulers, while others describe brutal crackdowns. The truth is likely a mix. You imagine the last hammock courts swinging quietly in hidden coves, their voices fading into the night. It's a poignant image, freedom's last lullaby before silence. A quirky survival detail. Pirates and Malagasy people sometimes used hammock making as a covert form of resistance. Weaving secret messages into hammock patterns allowed communication under the colonial radar. This textile code kept hope alive when open rebellion was too risky. You picture a humble hammock hanging in a village, a quiet symbol of defiance. Women again played crucial roles in preserving culture and history through oral storytelling during this decline. Their narratives ensured the Republic's legacy wasn't lost to time. This highlights the Republic's resilience even as political structures change. The Hammock Republic's transformation reminds you that history is rarely a clean break, but a weaving of old and new threads. You rock gently in your own imagined hammock, feeling both loss and persistence. The pirate republic may have waned, but its spirit, like the hammock, endures, suspended between past and future, ready to sway again. You wake in the gentle morning light, the memory of hammocks swaying still soft in your mind. The pirate republic may belong to history, but its spirit hums quietly in today's world. In coastal Madagascar, hammock weaving continues as both craft and cultural heritage. Festivals celebrate pirate legends, and locals tell stories that keep old spirits alive. The hammock republic lives on, not just in books but in the rhythm of daily life. Modern Malagasy artists and musicians draw inspiration from pirate traditions, blending them with contemporary styles. You hear echoes of hammock songs in vibrant new tunes. Feel the sway of pirate resilience in the dance of young performers. The Hammock Republic story inspires creativity and pride, reminding people that freedom and community are timeless pursuits. Historians still argue whether the Republic was more myth or reality, but its power as a symbol is undeniable. A quirky modern twist is the use of hammock-inspired designs in fashion and architecture across Madagascar. Buildings with curving, suspended structures mimic the comfort and flexibility of hammocks. Designers talk about how the Pirate Republic's blend of utility and leisure influenced these choices. You imagine walking through a village where every porch swings gently, inviting rest and reflection. Women continue to lead in preserving these traditions. Their role as storytellers, weavers, and community leaders echoes through generations, shaping modern Malagasy identity. The Hammock Republic's progressive social values still resonate, inspiring conversations about gender, power, and culture. You breathe deeply, feeling the past and present entwined like the ropes of a hammock. The Pirate Republic may have been a brief chapter, but its lessons linger, about freedom, law, and the simple joy of swinging together under the stars. As you drift towards sleep, you carry its gentle sway with you, a lullaby from a republic of hammocks and laws that still dreams beside you. The night deepens around you, the ocean's gentle rhythm whispering in your ears. The Hammock Republic, with all its swaying laws and woven freedoms, fades softly into the quiet dark. You feel the weight of centuries gently lift as the stories drift away, like smoke curling from a long-extinguished fire. The breeze brushes your skin, carrying hints of salt and adventure, reminding you that some dreams never fully disappear. There is a calm in knowing that even the wildest tales of pirates and republics find their place in the steady heartbeat of history. The hammocks may no longer creak beneath laughing rebels, but their memory rocks you gently now. You are suspended in time, balanced between what was and what still might be. The laws woven from ropes and resolve teach you about the fragile beauty of freedom and the strength in community. As your breath slows and the stars wheel overhead, the stories become lullabies. You imagine hammocks swinging softly in hidden coves, carrying secrets from one generation to the next. You feel the hands of those long gone, pirates, weavers, diplomats, storytellers, brushing through the air, reminding you that history is alive. It's not just in books or lectures, but in the quiet moments when you pause and listen. So, as your eyes grow heavy and the world around you fades, hold onto the hammock republic's gentle sway. Let it cradle you in a warm embrace of curiosity and wonder. Remember that even the smallest acts, like weaving a hammock or sharing a story, can shape the course of history. The pirate spirit is not lost. It lingers in you in every calm breath, every whispered dream. Now rest easy, knowing that the Republic of Hammocks and Laws continues to dream alongside you. The story may pause here, but the journey flows on, soft and endless as the ocean waves. Good night, friend. Sweet dreams, and may you always find a place to gently swing and be free.